Welcome to another episode of Boom and Bust. It's the 100th episode of Boom and Bust, so thank you very much for being such a loyal and wonderful audience. I'm your host, Tony Clement, here at the News Forum, where all voices matter. What is it like to be an Indigenous leader and at the same time an entrepreneur extraordinaire? Our guest today is Jim Boucher. He is the former chief of the Fort McKay First Nation in Athabasca and now the president and chairman of the Saa Dene Group, one of the fastest growing Indigenous owned and operated companies in Canada. Jim, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Mr. Clement. I appreciate it. It's an honor.
Well, it's my honor to have you here. So I guess my first question is, what prompted you to make the transition from being a chief of the Fort McKay First Nation to being an entrepreneur?
Well, I was raised by my grandparents, and one of the values that my grandparents instilled in me is the affinity for work. So, after I was finished with my job as chief, I decided to start up something in business which would keep me occupied and working. So I love working and I love entrepreneurship and I love doing business. So I think it's a really good opportunity for us to participate in the Canadian economy.
So what sort of projects are you working on?
Well, we have several opportunities that we work on. For example, we have Excelware, which is radio frequency technology, which will help in the production of the oil sands, especially in situ projects. It will reduce water consumption. It's very environmentally friendly. It's very clean technology, and I think that that technology certainly has a great opportunity with respect to the vast amount of resources that we have in Alberta, and I'm looking forward to that opportunity to prove that technology. And we're piloting now, and it looks like very positive with respect to the future with regards to producing oil and with very clean technology. And we also have maple muscatic, and it's a health provider right online. So it's one of the standard bearers nowadays with respect to how we deliver health care services in this country. We do that virtually on your computer or your iPhone, and you are able to access a whole host of specialists as well as practitioners, general practitioners. And so we have counseling services, and it looks like we have a tremendous opportunity with respect to the Canadian market as a result of the COVID pandemic that's in place today. So it's a new way of delivering a very important, crucial service to the people in this country. And we're also looking at expanding that service to First Nation communities so that we deliver a culturally sensitive medical service to our people who are have a hard time getting out to the main centers where there's specialists and general practitioners. So access is is an issue for a lot of people in the north, and so we're looking at establishing a very good footing with regards to the service we provide to the people.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're doing kind of two things at once. You've got things of general application, but you also want to look after Indigenous communities. Is that right?
Yeah, I think we're looking for opportunities so that we can expand the service that's being provided to First Nation communities as well as to the Canadian people as a whole. So I think the work that we're doing right now is really has tremendous upside with respect to the positive it brings to this country, especially with regards to Excelware and technology that we use there, and also the provision of medical services, which is very important, especially in today's world.
Would you think that you would be doing the medical services if it were not for COVID?
I think, regardless of COVID, it's a new market. I think, if we didn't do it, someone else would be doing it. But I think, we're the standard bearer today with regards to the partnership that we have with Maple. And it's a good model. And I think that, a lot of people are pretty keen with regards to accessing that type of service in today's climate.
We're going to be right back with our guest, Jim Boucher, the former chief of the Fort McKay First Nation, now the founder and president of the Saa Dene Group. Stay with us. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement. We've got Mr. Jim Boucher. He's former chief of the Fort McKay First Nation in Athabasca, Alberta, and now the co-founder and president of the Saa Dene Group. Jim, thanks again for joining us. I would love to get your sort of sense, because obviously you've been dealing with the oil and gas sector in your role, your former role as chief, and now obviously in your entrepreneurial role. Where do you see the future of the oil and gas sector in Alberta these days?
I think there's a tremendous opportunity with respect to the oil and gas sector for Alberta and for Canada as a whole. We have an abundant amount of resources. We're responsible developers and producers of oil in the world. I think that our product is needed in the world. The demand for world oil is approximately around 90 million barrels today. It could go up to 95. So I think Canada is a very, very critical position with regards to what we can do to develop our resources so that we're competitive out in the international market. I think we have a very good product. I think we have really good opportunities with regards to in situ and how we produce oil, especially outside the mining sector. I think the mining sector has pretty well peaked and it will continue its current operations. I don't think we'll see a new oil sands plant in the mining sector, but I think the opportunity is there for in situ projects because they're cleaner and you can bring in a product that's useful to the market and useful to Canadian society. And I think the production will certainly increase in the future with regards to the demand that will be made for the oil.
How do we get more approvals for oil and gas projects and pipelines, do you think?
I think it's the regulatory process itself will bear me out with regards to that. We will see project approvals for the in situ once they apply for it. But today's market, we're not seeing that great amount of investment with regards to the oil sands. I think we're looking at probably around $2 billion in forecast spending today with regards to capital. So I think we need to build upon what we have now and further expand our reach with regards to addressing the key concerns with regards to environmental performance and letting people know that we're one of the prudent protectors of the environment with regards to how we produce oil in this country. And we do a very good job with regards to mitigating the environmental issues and dealing with the long-term issues with regards to oil sands production. So I think, we're very well positioned to make strides, positive strides in the future. That we certainly have market access issues, and I think we need to address those issues in this country, and we need to find a way so that this country is not a victim with regards to how oil is being used in the future. We can't expose ourselves to that risk where we're dependent on other countries for the supply of oil in this country. And we need to be independent with regards to the production of oil.
Yeah, I mean, the social license kind of debate involves environmental approvals as well as sanctioning by Indigenous groups. On the latter, do you see more of a dialogue going on now than before?
I think there needs to be more dialogue with regards to the environmental issues, but on the other hand, the environmental position needs to change with regards to Canadian production.
Okay.
They're fixated on shutting down oil production right now in the Athabasca oil sands. I don't think that's good, and I don't think they're going to be moving off that position. I think the rest of Canada needs to step up and endorse Canadian production of oil because it's good for the country, it's good for the province, and it's good for the municipal governments and also the First Nation communities. So I think, we need to address the issues in a broader context within the broader scheme of things in this country. And we need to find ways that people in this country can support oil sands development.
Jim Boucher is our guest here, the co-founder and president of the Saa Dene Group. We'll be back with him after this break. Please stay with us. And we're back here at Boom Bust. I'm here with Jim Boucher. He's the former chief of the Fort McKay First Nation in Athabasca, Alberta, and now the president and chairman of the Saa Dene Group. Thanks again, Jim, for joining us. Love to get your sense again about doing business. Obviously, you've got a great entrepreneurial spirit. Could you maybe describe what the biggest frustration is currently in your business development?
Well, to start up your business in the era of COVID is very challenging. And but on the other hand, patience is a virtue, and with respect to what we try to do on the entrepreneurship side. So I think, the opportunities are there, but they're very limited. And but on the other hand, I think, we still recognize that business will continue to go on in this country, and that we will continue to find ways to do business. So, frankly, it's been a tough market, and it's been a tough sell. But we've been working at it, and thank God that some things are on our side, and we're starting up a few ventures here and there, and it's things are looking positive.
How do you think we can attract more investment capital in Canada? I'm sure that's one of the things that keeps you up at night, as for any entrepreneur. What do you think we've got to do better to make sure that people can invest more?
Well, I think, in terms of finding a way to increase the value with regards to the investments that people want to make in this country. So I think the value question is very important. The other question that needs to be resolved in this country are the environmental conditions with regards to how you operate in this country. There are other social issues, but I don't think they're that crucial or important. But I think, the two major factors are economic and environmental, and we need to find a way to find a middle ground between the two. So I think, once we find a way that we can make it more beneficial for people to invest in this country, then that will occur.
Just curious, this might be a little bit in left field, but has there been a lot of Chinese investment in your area?
Well, the Chinese have made some major purchases up in the Athabasca oil sands. They have a couple of projects going up there, and for example, they purchased Nexen, and and they do have a share in Syncrude. They have a project, China National Petroleum Company, I think, CNPC, their operation in the in situ project at the just west of Fort McKay. So they do have quite a sizable amount of investment made in Canada already. So I think, I don't know what their future plans look like. I don't think they're pretty keen right now with regards to the Athabasca oil sands, but they will continue to invest what they have now.
Are they a big presence on the ground, or are they just kind of in the background more?
I think the big three have taken on a big presence at Cenovus and Syncrude and CNRL, Suncor. So I think those companies are pretty dominant out there. The Chinese companies are pretty low key right now with regards to their operations.
Right. I would love to know, you talked a little bit about COVID. Maybe we've mined this already, but obviously COVID's going to go away at some point, hopefully. How will that affect your businesses, do you think, once we get the economy rolling again?
I believe, we certainly have a positive view, and I think that COVID will be addressed in the near future, that there will be the vaccination program will be successful, and that people will have some sort of normalcy return with regards to how we live our life. And I think there will be some leftover residue with regards to the COVID issue, but people will still be protective with regards to their health. So I imagine that the economy will certainly turn up in the future, and we're hoping that there will be more opportunity for the entrepreneurs in this country.
Well, we're having a great discussion with Jim Boucher. He is the co-founder and president of the Saa Dene Group and the former chief of the Fort McKay First Nation in Athabasca, Alberta. Stay with us as we continue this discussion. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Boom and Bust. It's me, Tony Clement, here in our wonderful studio talking with Jim Boucher, the former chief of the Fort McKay First Nation in Athabasca and now president and chairman of the Saa Dene Group. Jim, I'd love to get your sense. Obviously, we're anticipating a federal budget at some point, obviously not in March anymore, but maybe in April. Are there things that the federal government should be doing that could make your life easier as an entrepreneur?
Well, I think, they need to streamline their practice of how they engage entrepreneurs in this country. And I think, they need to have a much more bigger presence with regards to accessing entrepreneurs within the Indigenous communities. And I think they established targets with regards to how much Canadian governments can spend with regards to on contracts with Native and Aboriginal companies. And I think they need to activate that and make sure that it happens. I think a lot of Aboriginal entrepreneurs in this country would like to do business with the government, and certainly looking forward to them implementing policies which are positive and which gives us the opportunity to compete in the Canadian market. I think we need to find ways that they establish a regulatory process which is fair and allows projects to proceed in a timely fashion, and so that we can access the opportunities that come from major resource projects. And so I think we need to find a common ground with the governments and industry in regards to how that happens. And although we have to say that the oil sands industry and the oil industry here in the Athabasca oil sands is very proactive. They spend billions of dollars in the communities with contracts going to the Aboriginal corporations, including the First Nation communities. And I think that has a really positive benefit with regards to the communities, in the sense that they have full employment, they have a lot of economic opportunity, their household income has gone up, their community wealth, health, wellness indexes is positive. So I think, whatever we can do to make sure that entrepreneurs can succeed in this country I'm all for it. Thank you.
So from what you just said, it looks like timeliness of approvals is a big issue. Is that right, Jim?
Yeah, timing is, when you have a project that takes years to approve the projects, and I think, we need to find a way so that we can address the issues so that the projects can be approved in a timely fashion.
Yeah. Well, we've got just over a minute left. So last question. Let's talk a little bit about the provincial government. Jason Kenney and his team, are they being very helpful in promoting and helping your business and similar businesses?
I think, the government is attempting, under Jason Kenney, is attempting to establish relationship with First Nation Aboriginal people in the province. and they're looking at ways that can support the people to invest in the resource sector, and they're established some parameters with regards to how that happens. And I think the government is pretty keen to ensure that the First Nations people are part of the Alberta economy, and so they're taking measures to make that happen. It will have positive outcomes in the future, and to see that work its way through, and the people certainly become positive with regards to the policies established by the government.
Well, Jim Boucher, I certainly wish you every success with your business and for your community as well. It was a pleasure to have you on my 100th episode, and I wish, as I say, wish you success, and hopefully we can check back in with you later to see how that success is going.
Thank you, Mr. Clemens. It's an honor to be your 100th.
Thank you. Very interesting to see how this new generation of entrepreneurs from Indigenous communities are making their way, and we certainly wish Jim Boucher a great deal of success. And I also, again, want to thank you, the viewers, for making this show possible. Having 100 episodes under my belt, it's all because of the feedback and the positive energy I get from you. Thank you again, and we'll see you next time.